This podcast is for financial professional use only and is not intended for use with the public. Material is for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, or investment advice. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Ash Brokerage. Welcome to Accumulation to Activation, the podcast that breathes life into your retirement planning strategies. If you're an advisor aiming to elevate your practice, deepen client relationships, and stay ahead of retirement income trends, we'll help you capture the opportunities on your doorstep and increase your impact. Each episode, we'll unpack the forces reshaping our industry, from the $44 trillion generational wealth transfer and the evolution of income planning to behavioral shifts, legislative updates, and breakthrough solutions that redefine financial security. Here are your hosts, Mike McGlothlin and Tim Ash.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Accumulation to Activation, where we talk about all things going from employment to enjoyment. I hope that you've enjoyed our previous episodes. Looking forward to continue doing these on a bi-weekly basis, sharing ideas about industry issues as well as ideas that your clients need to know as they're trying to have the best retirement and enjoyment of that retirement as much as possible. Tim Ash joins us again. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, spending some time on the podcast here, Tim.
Oh, hey, it's my pleasure. Our advisors are busier than we are because they're out serving others. And, our job, as you know, Mike, is to educate, elevate, and help advisors serve more people. That's what it's all about, impacting lives. And I couldn't be happier. This is episode 12 for us. So it's been great to be alongside of you on this. So thank you for including me. And we look forward to many more. And please, your feedback from the advisors to help us with content, to help us talk about certain things. We're excited about what 2026 which we're in the throes of, what it's going to mean to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say that. So thank you for saying that. One of the things that we are getting phenomenal feedback from our advisors that are using this particular service is our annuity performance review. I know, Tim, you have been very, very active in developing, reviewing, pushing annuity performance review through with our Journey Guide friends. Talk a little bit about the journey here as we really are putting a flag in the hill here in terms of refinancing your retirement, and talk about the evolution of this in last year of 2025.
Well, I would be happy to, and as you know, this is something I'm very passionate about, and it goes back to saying, how do we improve outcomes for our advisors, and most importantly, outcomes for the clients. And I might kick it back to you really quickly to answer a question. How many dollars are sitting inside of variable annuities right now that have some form of an income rider? Give a ballpark.
Well, I know that there are $1.1 trillion of variable annuities. And I think the last industry stat that I heard that was fairly credible, about 80% of those have some type of income or a GLWB type of benefit.
Okay. And over the course of the last several years, let's take out 2025 and 2024, what was the 10-year treasury yield when those products were sold?
Yeah, below 2 for the most part, and and many times, especially right after the pandemic, below 100 basis points.
Okay. So what I'm doing here is planting the seed for how this annuity performance review had its genesis and why it's so important for you to reevaluate any and all variable annuities that were written during the time frame where the 10-year treasury was sub 3%. And we have been living in that, not now. Today it's a bit above 4 still. So I want you to think about that for a minute. If you were in the mortgage business, what did you tell your clients to do when rates fell or when they dropped?
Refinance, right?
We refinance. I go from a 30-year to a 15-year. I do whatever. Well, what should we be doing if we sold a product during a time when rates were low and now they're higher?
We should refinance their retirement.
We should refinance their retirement because the basis of the payout on the products that were sold was the 10-year treasury. And if the 10-year treasury was 1.9 or 2.2 or 3, and today it's 4, the amount of trajectory that you can get to improve and increase income, even on products that have people have already started taking income on. And I'll get very passionate on this one because I think I know you all out there as advisors are busy, right? You're out there, your calendars are full, etc. But here's a space that you can go to people, and Mike, we can talk about the stats here in a minute. But if I'm not mistaken, we're approaching 90% of the annuities that we review, whether they're in accumulation mode, have started income, or are going to start income, we're improving outcomes in over 90%. This is not a cherry picked study or survey. We've done over 1,000. So we have enough data to support this.
Yeah, I was just looking at our fact sheet for any of our advisors who actually want to take a look at their book of business and identify some of the annuities that they've written. I was just looking at one, a well-known variable annuity carrier from 2020 plus. We're averaging an income increase of 75.81%. That same carrier has a total fee structure of 3.45 over that same time span. So not only is it more income, but it's also fee drag reduction as well. So just there's a lot of good things. And again, this is something that everybody should be doing as part of their ongoing fiduciary practice of reviewing not only their discretionary assets under management, but also their risk management. I always tell advisors, we're not going to get paid over the next 20 years for managing assets. We're going to get paid for managing risks, retirement risk, long-term care risk, healthcare risk, all those things. That's how we're going to get paid over the next 2 decades, in my mind. Now, one thing that we do, and I encourage everybody to click on the link that you'll find in the show notes. We have a digital solutions room. Our retirement advanced marketing and planning team performs all of these. And Tim, you always talk about being in your office without being on your payroll. This is a perfect example. You can give us a recent statement as well as a one-page fact finder, which basically is just communicating what does the client want to get accomplished here? More money, more long-term care, better legacy planning, or something to that effect. You just tell us what we're trying to plan for. We can actually do an analysis that's backed by several industry databases, including Morningstar Intelligence, Wink Database, CanX, all the trusted sources that you're using right now for illustrations. And we have more than 60 different case studies in there. And, you know, you'll probably find somebody that looks like somebody in your client base. This particular one that I want to review, if you're looking for that, is case study number 52. It's easy to remember because there are 52 weeks in a year. So just go to number 52. But this particular person was age 64 when they purchased their old contract. They're now 69. And he's wanting to plan for income at age 73, which probably coincides with some of his R&D plannings and things like that. I encourage you to listen to our previous episode about qualified reset and long-term care, managing all of that into your retirement income space. But this contract value was $826,000. The surrender value was $803,000. Now, Tim, most people would stop there and say, I'm not going to touch that. That's a $23,000 surrender charge. That is a dead asset. And it's not, because the income base is 835 and their current income is 47,788. Going apples to apples, you could buy a deferred income annuity, which we talked about in the previous episode. That would increase your income to 83,531. Or if you did a fixed indexed annuity, which does not have the 3.54% fees, you actually increase your income to $91,172. That is guaranteed for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. If you do not exhaust your dollars, any remaining dollars go to your named beneficiary. So that is where we are changing the outcomes of so many Americans, all because of the economic environments that Tim just talked about. Now is the time to do that. And the window of opportunity is probably closing with the Fed's decision to probably lower interest rates unless inflation gets way out of hand. But just I'll pause there because I dumped a lot of information there on you, Tim. But I mean, the huge difference from 47,000 to 91,000, I don't know how anybody can ignore.
I'm going to say this, and then and we have in some podcasts we've called them my takes or Tim's takes on this. So I'm going to accelerate that right now. I don't know of a client that would not want to get that report to say I could nearly double my income. In this case that you talked about, it was a 90% increase. Here's a thought. What if you could, instead of holding those assets hostage inside of that variable annuity, and it was a good contract when you sold it, okay? It was the best contract at that moment in time because the 10-year treasury was probably 2.2%. It's the best you could get. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Just again, like this refinancing time, you get the chance to go back to the client and say, we can refinance your retirement. Guess what? We can unlock nearly $400,000 to put to work for future longevity risk, long-term care, assets under management, gifting. Think of the fun that you're going to have with this conversation. There's no bad news when you do an APR. No bad news. See, this to me is the language and the psychology that our advisors really, if you take this and what you hear from what Mike and I are trying to do is to educate, motivate, and give you resources so that you can have conversations. This to me is, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. I want to evaluate the annuity that we put in place with you 4 or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or however long ago it was. And from it, I think we're going to have some good news. And I'd like to share that with you. Now, what I would encourage you to do is have a one-on-one with our retirement income consultants. Play out the scenario with us, or let us give you the tools, the talking points, and also we customize how you like to present. Not everyone wants to send out the APR report. In fact, one of our largest users of the APR asked us to re-engineer it to put it in the way he presents. And so he wanted it in an Excel file. He wanted to manage it a certain way. And we're able to transport that information, that's not the right word, but put that information over into the method with which they were accustomed to talking to their clients about financial decisions. So what we have is a template, and it's malleable, so you can make it whatever you want and use our ramp team, but use our retirement income consultants to help. I look at this and say, when we're improving 90% of the outcomes, and that average improvement is as significant as we have been seeing, this is something that if I were you, I would be clamoring to get on the calendar with my clients to share the good news.
Yeah, this is a great thing to do here in the first quarter of 2026. Sit down, evaluate. I encourage you to talk to our retirement income consultant, pull a spreadsheet of your old variable annuity book of business, even the ones prior to 2020. We are having phenomenal success with those that are already on income, jumping that up. And our average increase, whether it's still in deferral or in income now, is about 39%. That pays for a lot of annuity arbitrage, like we've talked about on several different episodes. That allows you to free up hostages to put into AUM, or if you're looking at tax deferred, non qualified, allows you to split over and turn that tax deferred into tax free for long term care. And you're essentially insuring your own business through assets under management by doing that, by protecting long term care. The only thing that you got to work on then is healthcare, which we can take care of as well. The other thing that's really interesting here is that our ramp team digs in on this profile, and this particular individual is paying $36,200 per year in fees, M&E fees, rider fees, management expense fees. We reduced that down to $8,300 in terms of a more updated, higher interest rate environment. That alone is taking money from the insurance company to the pocket of this individual. And that is the right thing to do. And still shifting longevity risk and taking the tail off the unknown longevity risk, like we talked about in the previous episode. So just unbelievable tool that probably is not being used widely enough. I encourage everybody just to dump some data on us, and we'll churn it out for you.
Yep. I like I said, I'm excited about this. And your clients might say, "Well, why didn't you offer this to me when you sold me the other annuity?" And your simple answer is, "I couldn't. The interest rates at the time were low, and now they're better, and so we're refinancing." And use that everyone understands refinancing their mortgage, right? You don't refinance your mortgage if you go from 3% to 7%. You're not going to refinance then, but you will refinance if it's 7 going to 3. So this is the inverse of that. It is, you bought a product during a time, and none of us had crystal balls as to what interest rates were going to do. We were living in a zero interest rate policy for 10 years. So we were just simply providing what we were able to. And now, and this is that don't, and I'm going to say this, and please don't, I hope you'll respect it. Take your bias and leave it off to the side. Take your bias, even if you think, well, my client already turned on income. Mike, you talked about that. My client already turned on income. There's nothing I can do. That's a bias. And that bias is going to potentially cause harm to your client, because we have looked at clients that even have had income turned on for 10 years, that we can take that income and in some instances 50%, 70%, 80% increases. I don't know of anyone that would say, "No, you know what, don't sign me up for that. How about you just keep me at the lower income? I don't want the higher income."
Yeah. Well, hopefully everybody tunes in next time. We're actually going to have one of our most experienced wholesalers on the podcast talking about how he positions refinancing your home versus refinancing your retirement, and how you can get into a conversation with your clients, just as Tim talked about. But again, I encourage everybody to utilize this service. This is a perfect example of what Tim always says, that we're being in your office without being on your payroll. And it's great information, and it's timely information, and it will make a difference. It makes your planning easier when you have more income or more assets to play with. in order to address some of the other retirement risks. So, Tim, as always, thank you for carving time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for sharing your passion and your insights. And we look forward to more conversations with you coming up. As always, everyone, make sure that you like and subscribe here, and then also shoot us an email, shoot us a text or whatever in terms of if there is a specific topic that you would like us to drill down into. I know that Tim and I would be more than happy to banter that around on any future episode. So again, Tim, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, McGee. And one last thing. Sorry for the parting comment. For you advisors, if you could, please share this with other advisors that are in your community, in your network, in your RIA, in your broker dealer. We grow our business just like you do. We do it through referrals, and would love for you to, if you heard something or you think someone might benefit from this podcast, please share it. It's the way that we can keep building and growing on this content. But in any event, thank you, Mike. I appreciate and always enjoy the inspiration that you bring to me, to the business, to the space. So thank you.
Thank you.
This episode of Accumulation to Activation was produced by Ash Brokerage. For more on the most pressing and critical issues facing financial advisors today, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a colleague. For more resources, visit us at ashbrokerage.com or reach out to our team at 800-589-3000. Let's start a strategic conversation about how you can be more efficient with your retirement income and legacy planning solutions. Insurance product guarantees are subject to the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurer. Annuities are insurance contracts and may be subject to fees, surrender charges, caps, spreads, participation rates, and tax implications. Withdrawals are taxable and, if taken prior to age 59 and a half, may be subject to an additional tax. Product availability and features vary by state and carrier. Social Security and tax rules are complex and subject to change. Clients should consult their tax and Social Security advisors. Any modeling or Monte Carlo analysis referenced is based on stated assumptions and are illustrative only. Results vary by client profile, market conditions, and product selection. Past or modeled results are not guarantees of future outcomes.